What's up? Welcome to the Deep End. Mike Schopp, Adam Krautwurst, Tuesday night, October 3rd, 2023, heading into week 5. No time to waste. Lots of more injury news and developments around the NFL in week 4. Of course, we go right from Monday night to Thursday night. There's almost no time to get air. But as we've been doing in recent weeks, once we get through some early updates, we'll go team by team through the NFL and talk about one or two of the most interesting and maybe difficult to read situations on each NFL team. Thanks for being with us. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Xbox, fax, pager, any way you're reaching us. Your beeper is beeping right now because you're in the deep end. Mike and Adam, thank you. Let's go.
The Pony Express, something.
Carrier pigeon. Carrier pigeons out there delivering the deep end to fantasy football enthusiasts
everywhere.
We are powered by the PlayerProfiler network. Adam and I have a few, is it like 4 teams together? Maybe we've drafted a couple on the stream over the course of the summer, a couple of Fantasy Pros teams, one of which had a nice result last night. We wouldn't be the only team. I had 2 or 3 games that were flipped by the Seattle defense, some good, some bad. But you want to start somewhere else?
Yeah. I want to start. And the big important one. I know you didn't want to do this, but I forced you. I forced you to talk about your team here. That's in the what are you in the top 25 of the best ball mania?
20th place.
Incredible.
It's good.
Out of 8 million teams, Mike, something like that.
A little bit less.
Okay.
Look at Louis in 8th.
Louis G, friend of the show. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Now I have to ask: is this team co-owned by me? Was this one of the ones you did on the show? Are you sure?
No. Do you want to see it?
I do want to see it. Of course I want to see it. Top 20 in the best ball mania. I want to see how live and how fun this team is. Because this could be anything. This could be, when was it drafted? Did you know off the top of your head? Early, late?
I don't.
Okay.
Does that work? Do you have it this way?
I have it. Yeah, you want me to pull that up? There we go.
All right, talk us through it.
Yeah, Justin Herbert, Purdy, Sam Howell. Were you normally a 3 QB guy?
No, I didn't like doing it, and I have no idea why this team turned out this way. There's too many teams.
Right.
What I did, I just marked it by the teams that I drafted. But
sure.
I don't really like that method either because it doesn't tell me enough. I'd rather have the date because it's hard to find the date. You can't really look that up.
Right.
So here we go.
So, Herbert, Purdy, Howell, Pollard, Montgomery, Achane, Bigsby, Mostert, Ford. Oh, of course, Ford. Ford's got to be on there. Man, that's a deep RB room. That is really
nice. That's nice. Montgomery posts 33 on Thursday night. I felt like I was kind of made there for the weekend.
For sure. For sure. You could have multiple injuries and be good. That's nice. Diggs.
Or we're going to have one to Travis Etienne.
Right. Diggs, Keenan Allen, Jahan Dodson, Cortland Sutton, Juju, Marvin Mims, Hunter Renfrow. Man, Hunter Renfrow, I've been on so many teams. Mark Andrews, elite tight end, Gerald Everett, who might get more work now with some injuries on that team. So, that's really good. And Mims too has some room to grow. Averaging like 8 yards per route run or something absolutely absurd. So, that's exciting. It's one of those teams that you look at and go, oh, okay, this is live for sure. Is that going to keep you up at night now? Is that your baby?
No, what can you do, right? Like I got to keep my head in these other leagues where you have waivers and you have to monitor everything. There's nothing you can do there. But this week, for the first time, after the Montgomery game, I started to look at those points on Sunday a little bit for the first time.
Nice. Yeah. No.
Yes. Next, the Deep End Invitational through 4 weeks.
Yes.
And there is a tweet from our account today with the leaderboard. Mike Leone is the new leader. Mayfield and Godwin. I don't know how often Mayfield was drafted, but that has worked out for Mike, who started. I'll show you that board once you get a look at the names there. There's Louis again.
Having a year.
I'm going to keep Team 8 in mind, too. Kate Magsiuk here for a second when I go and get the draft board from that league.
Yeah, go Bills in the top 5. I mean, so again, Western New York. And I know we haven't made the cut yet, but I'm 11th overall in that tournament. And I think you are what, 14th?
14th with one quarterback.
Yeah.
With Aiden O'Connell. Not to slight Aiden O'Connell, who counted for me this week.
Oh, my God. Incredible.
If you're watching, you see Mike Leone, Team 3. This was night 4. We did 4 12-team expert drafts in the RotoViz format at FFPC. Mike started Josh Allen at 3. I think, did Mike say he would have picked him at 1? I'm not sure if he said that. We talked to him that night.
Yeah.
Wait, Jared Smola is in 2nd. We talked to Jared during his draft as well. So good luck to those who come on the stream. Right. Allen and Tua. And, you see a typical sort of live best ball team where not everybody is perfect. It's not usually like that. But like Javonte Williams has not mattered yet for Mike. But Kincaid. There's Mostert and Ford in the later rounds who have mattered a lot.
Yes, that's usually it's about health and later round picks. I mean, that's generally what all of fantasy now it's kind of become, and especially best ball where you can't do anything to it. So yeah, Mostert and Ford smashing for him early. Mostert might start to dwindle a little bit. We'll talk about him when we get to Miami. Ford has RB2 usage, so again, just got to say, but I think Hall is on the way up though. I think which is good. So yeah, teams looking good. Godwin might get. I mean, he's on a bye, but he might get some time by himself in that receiver core. So yeah, no, gotta stay healthy. Got to get a little luck and team. But again, he knows about structure. He might need a little bit of help at tight end though down the stretch, but we'll see.
We'll get to Kincaid when we talk team by team. I want to bring him up. 4 teams on bye in week 5: Cleveland, Tampa Bay, Seattle, and the Chargers. Team 6 on this board, if you're still watching, Kate's team in the top 10, almost entirely auto-picked. Here's another lesson in best ball drafting. This is if it's going to be auto-picked, it's going to be value, at least on some level. She's 8th overall, Adam, with 1 quarterback, and that's Bryce Young.
8th overall with 1 quarterback, no Austin Eckler, no Nick Chubb. Who else is she? You scrolled down. I don't know which team is hers. I can't.
6.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I mean, yeah, no one's been good. I don't understand how. I mean, Mixon's been Etienne's been It's crazy. Best ball is just crazy. You just throw. I mean, Jefferson's obviously been awesome. Ridley had the 1 good week. Thielen's been good, and she drafted Thielen, so kudos.
Right, and there's Achane again, and then round 20, Zach Ertz. Have you been moving to Zach Ertz? I never drafted him, and I still can't. I mean, are you picking him up in places?
I mean, no. He's just tight end premium would be the only spot that I would look for tight ends a little like that, and I just don't really have room, and he's gonna fizzle out. I think. I mean, he's too old to be keeping up that type of production. I want them to get the young guy going there too. I don't know what they're waiting for.
I don't know. McBride, you mean?
McBride, yeah. I'd like to see him get some run, learning from the veteran.
I guess in Dynasty, I would probably not want to cut him, but man, that's not a good look that you're into year 2 and really can't get any sort of action.
Right.
You and I had a fun one last night in the FFPC Fantasy Pros Championship. I'm sure others watching or listening can, some will be able to relate and maybe had the same ride.
Yes.
Where we were down 10 points going into the night game with the Seattle defense against Metcalf and won. With Metcalf scoring a touchdown, not even Lockett, but
unbelievable.
Metcalf got in the end zone and Seattle scored 31 points.
This is why I hope this gentleman or woman had other leagues and teams that they cared about, because this is why I can't lock into a game, because it's just mind-numbing. I couldn't even imagine. And by the way, this is why you bet. This is why you can use props to hedge your life, to hedge your heart, to hedge your like. It's just crazy going in there and thinking that you can lose that game up 10 with Metcalf against the Seattle defense. What did the Seattle defense score? 31.
31.
Seattle's defense might not score 31 the next 8 weeks combined. And I'm not exaggerating. Like the defense in the FFPC average like 5 points a week, 5, 6, 7, but 7 points a week. That's crazy, Tom.
Well, look across the aisle. Our kicker and defense had 50.8. Theirs had 30.3. You'd take that every week.
True.
But they gave up 20
True.
in that department. What feels really good about this win is, so Adam and I had, we streamed the defenses, and I ended up on a few Seattle defenses. I do some of that, and Adam does some of that. On this team, this is a Fantasy Pros team that we drafted together, probably on the stream. It was Richards. We have Richardson and Tua. And I was Tua until 10 minutes before kickoff, and then wanted to switch to Richardson. Why? I told you. I'm forgetting now. Because of Pittman? I don't remember. But
Pittman, yeah.
Who bombed. I mean, he had one catch.
Yeah.
But we made the right call, Richardson over Tua, and also Achane over Breece Hall, which was a little uncomfortable. But, I mean, we would not have won without both of those choices.
Yeah, no, listen, Richard, I will never say no to Anthony Richardson. I'll never say no to drafting him. I'll never say no to starting him. And we'll get into Richardson too when we talk about the Colts, but he is league winner, baby. League winner.
So that team is 3-1 and looking good. The Go Bills guys are in that league. I think the GOAT District is in there. That's one we all did together earlier in the summer. One more I want to share from FFPC. This is kind of cool. You get a notification when somebody posts a message on one of your league sites, and that happened today. I'm glad you showed me that, because I never would have seen. I didn't even know people even used that thing. I love it. It's rare when you see it, unless people are just sort of begging for trade. Like, oh, Chris Godwin is on the block. Really?
Right.
You'd take a first?
This is the same league. This is the same.
No, so we were in Las Vegas, and you all were drafting big important stuff. I had signed up for a best ball with John Daigle, but it didn't fill. So I was feeling left out, and just went on and drafted one more FPC team that Friday morning. This is the morning after Detroit, Kansas City. I drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown at 103.
Okay.
In this. So this is just to flatter ourselves here. We get the message board. You beat me by half a point, 8 question marks. Are you Mike or Adam? I follow your show. Had you beaten last week until the Seattle defense. How do you usually decide your defense streamer? So I wanted to share this because it was friendly, and it's a good chat question for a show like ours, I think. And love that somebody in a league like this we don't know is watching and listening. That's my response. You see, thanks for watching. I was super lucky. I don't put a lot of thought in defenses. I think of Scott Connor. I use his line all the time. He was on our show talking about his process when it came to projections. He said, I let other people do that work. Yes. So with defense, it's so random. Anyway, good luck to this guy, but we'll take it.
No, that's funny. I thought that message was from the game that you had just showed. But then I guess I didn't put the score together. But the question on that in the defenses is interesting. I prefer to. The thing that I'll look at, because I do stream, is the defensive line versus the offensive line. That has a big effect on point scoring for defense. Because in a lot of these high stakes leagues, like the way that you score points for defenses is with turnovers and defensive touchdowns or special teams to touchdowns. I mean, in FFPC, if you get 3 sacks and 2 interceptions, that's what 2, 4, 7 points. It's nothing. Like it's nothing. You got to score touchdowns. You got to get you got to get special teams touchdowns, all that stuff. So what's big with scoring touchdowns is pressuring the quarterback. See Daniel Jones from last night. So the O-line versus the D-line is a very big thing. And there are some sites that do. I know I use ETR, Establish the Run. They have Brandon Thorne is a very good one for them. And so I use that a lot when I'm streaming. Like sometimes I've got Cleveland, I keep them in there. If I have the Bills, I'll keep them in there. But if I'm streaming, I'm comparing O-line versus D-line, and that changes every week. Guys, like you might get injured. You might have an O-line. Like the Seattle's O-line is decimated right now. They're both tackles out. Their backup tackles are out. Like you want a defense that's going to go up against. And that Seattle O-line wasn't good last night. Like, that Gino was running a little bit for his life there. So that's how I stream my defenses.
I would only add that, sure, I'll hang on to a good one as long as they have good matchups coming up. When the Bills get to past the midpoint of the season and it's Philadelphia and, I don't know about Cincinnati anymore, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Dallas, Chargers, no matter how well they've done for me, I'm not going to want the Bills defense in those weeks because there's got to be better matchup options. So I do think people get a little bit too attached to the highest ranking defenses like Dallas, any of them. I think of New England about 4 years ago was scoring all the time on defense, and you just couldn't let go of their defense, but it leveled off. So just make sure if you're going to keep a team, keep a defense, despite there being better matchups, do it because next week they're the best matchup again, or a couple weeks after that, not just because.
Yeah.
Okay, let's in just a moment, we'll go team by team around the NFL, share what we think is the most interesting thing happening with each team. Some will have 2 or 3, some will have maybe none. That happened last week. Mike Schopp and Adam Krautwurst in the deep end. First, a word from our sponsor.
Hey, we're all starting new fantasy leagues all the time. And more often than not, where do we start our fantasy leagues at Player Profiler? On Sleeper. Because it's the best. You can imagine my excitement when I saw Sleeper rolled out. Sleeper picks, baby. And game stacking is the path to positive returns with these pick'em games. Find that sneaky shootout and set most of the players to go over their projection for that week. Or you find a game going to get dragged into the mud and take every member of the passing game for less than their projections that week. And if you pick up to 8, that's how you 100x your payout on Sleeper. It's called the Hail Mary. So if you use promo code Underworld, you get a $100 instant deposit match. Check out Sleeper's terms and conditions for details. These Sleeper picks are live in over 25 states. Yeah, buddy.
Okay. Well, those of you watching, hope you're enjoying the helmets. We have always next week's matchups here. We've got Green Bay and Vegas on Monday night, Dallas and San Francisco on Sunday night. 4 of 32 NFL teams. We are about to go through all of them. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
One and only one way to do it. AFC East, North, South, West, and then NFC alphabetical within the division. Rightly. First team up, Buffalo.
Yes. Allen's back. Offense is humming. Heard you talking a bunch about Kincaid today. He's the question mark. If you are in a non-tight end premium league, you can probably drop him for now, in my opinion. If you're in a tight end premium, you're not dropping him because he said Dawson Knox injury away from 8 or 9 targets a game. So that's what I'm doing with him. James Cook, you got to be happy about what he's been doing so far.
What, if anything, is likely to change with the Bills? I think Kincaid is the only player that will change or has any chance of it. You're saying, he's maybe not going to change enough without an injury to make it worthwhile, and that could be right. But the rest of it is so well established, and that's because it's been years. Allen, Diggs, Davis. Davis is light, but you know what you're getting. Knox, you know what you're getting. Cook, you know what you're getting. You're not getting goal line. You're not getting 2-minute maybe, but you're getting volume and efficiency to a point. So Kincaid, they should ramp him up and give him more downfield throws, but just on what kind of scale? I mean, if they're going to win every week by 30 points, they're not going to be in a hurry to do that. So I still like the idea of him, even for this year. And, because Adam, nobody is scoring at tight end. Who had it? Rebar, somebody had it. I heard it on Underdog, I think. That Jonnu Smith's 95 yards is a season high for any tight end.
Crazy.
Come on.
I know.
Jonnu Smith.
I know. I was 3 years early on Jonnu Smith, apparently.
We were 3 years early, if that, on Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Miami. Achane is a must start now.
Absolutely. I mean, Achane was the guy. I mean, Mostert had a little bit of him. I see you got him on some teams. I got him on some teams, but I think the long view is Achane, the rookie, the explosive guy. Mostert being a 31-year-old journeyman. I was always leaning Achane, but listen, when Mostert's healthy and active, you're starting him too. So I think I like Mostert. I like Achane. I'd like to see what happens with Wilson. Wilson's back this week, so we'll see if he's active or not. That they've got Ahmed. So we'll see. We'll see what they end up doing there. But yeah, you're starting Achane. You're starting all those guys.
Jalen Waddle through 3 games. He missed a game, but
Yeah.
4 catches for 70 yards. I mean,
Yeah.
that's Cortland Sutton.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I think he'll get going.
Hopefully there are games where they pivot to Waddle because they have to. I don't know what those games look like if they're going to run the ball like this. New England, I mean, that's a disaster. We thought it would be in a lot of ways, passing game wise, but not Ramondre Stevenson, who was often even a second round pick, always by the 3rd round. Stevenson, I mean, that hasn't been good at all. Passing game usage, Elliott, the efficiency of the offense. I think he's an interesting guy to talk about in terms of dynasty and whether he's movable. A team that's losing might think they can get him, and he's still a good player and young, and that's pretty volatile, that kind of stuff. Maybe it can be anyway, but they could be like a 4 or 5 win team. And do you want a part-time running back on a team like that? That's looking like a bad pick.
Yeah, it's gross. A lot of the running backs have been bad picks in the first four rounds. Juju Smith-Schuster only out there on 47% of the plays. Like, you can cut him. Yeah, the passing game's a disaster. Hunter Henry's the only guy that I really want in this offense at all.
Jets, I mean, not a bad night for Zach Wilson. Breece Hall is absolutely trending up. That's the Jets.
That's the Jets. And yeah, I mean, Breece Hall's got a good matchup this week against the Broncos. I love that. I think I think they were DVOA has them as like the worst. Did I read this right? They had the worst defense like ever tracked by DVOA, Denver. So you definitely want to start Breece Hall there. He looks good. It's all about Zach Wilson. If Zach Wilson can play like that, and he wasn't sensational by any means, but he was serviceable. If he can just play like that, get some confidence, get going, then we can start all the pieces. Man, he just missed Garrett Wilson on like a 30-yard touchdown. That would have been so sweet. And that's disappointing because that's a throw he can make. Like, arm talent's never been a question mark for him. Like, it's always been like, is his brain there? Does he love the game? Is he studying film? But man, he's got Garrett Wilson on that little fly route there. He's got to hit him on that. But it does give you some confidence down the stretch here for Garrett Wilson.
Who's favored, Jets or Broncos? Do you know?
I would. Where's the game?
Denver.
It's probably Denver.
Denver is favored by 1.5.
Wow.
At home against the Jets.
Pathetic.
Both teams 1-3. That Jet win. Baltimore 3-1 and looking pretty good. If they win Sunday in Pittsburgh, they'll have won all their division road games already. Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. What a hammer in a division race that can be. But Andrews got there with his touchdowns. Not a lot else. I mean, Jackson is running, and he's been great again. But receiver-wise, running backs even, is there a guy you like? Like, is there a guy you trust right now on the Ravens after Andrews?
No, there isn't. I mean, you know me, I'm a big Rashad Bateman guy. Like, R.I.P.
What happened to Rashad Bateman?
No, what happened to any of those
Nothing
guys?
has ever happened. I mean,
That's right.
He's hurt again.
Yeah, he's hurt again.
Don't you have to be playing football to get hurt? When does the football playing part happen where you actually get hurt? That's why people get hurt in football, is from the playing of the football.
That's right.
But poor Bateman, like, I feel like he's almost never existed.
I know.
You can hear in my voice, I have drafted a lot of Rashad Bateman, for years now. I think of him for 2 plays. Week 1 last year, touchdown against the Jets deep. Week 2,
Miami.
Last year against Miami, a slant where he took it. And then he played the Bills in week 3 or week 4 and hurt his foot, and that's been it.
Yeah, it's been awful. It's been a mess. Andrews 26% target share, 80 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. It's nice to see him get going. Lamar again is doing great because he's running a lot. Perfect.
The unofficial favorite podcast of Mark Andrews drafters, The Deep End. Yes. I mean, let's go. There were some fist pumps last week thinking about our drafts. I mean, pros versus Joes, and other times, different ones. First round when it was not popular. Yep. So let's keep that trending up. Cincinnati, Jamar Chase at 2 overall. Did we miss something? I mean, was there even after the Burrow injury, should we have been able to calculate that Was Chase risky? I mean, I never had a conversation or heard one where anybody was talking like that before the season. But now you go, yeah, if the quarterback can't move, they're not going to throw the ball down the field. So the best you're going to get from Chase is short routes, and it doesn't add up to much.
Yeah. I mean, Burrow, if the problem with the offense is Burrow's leg, then yeah, we probably should have moved Chase down. I think we assumed that he would be okay. I mean, but I think they'll end up being better than they are now. But I mean, look at compared to who was going around him. I mean, people were taking. I wasn't. People were taking Chase over Jefferson. I was taking Chase over McCaffery, like because
Me too.
Running backs get hurt more than receiver. And here we are. So
I was taking Kupp over McCaffrey.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have barely any McCaffrey. I don't have barely any Eckler. So
that feels great, doesn't it? That feels great not having McCaffrey. Like we're new to the country. And who is this Christian McCaffrey? Who is this upstart we didn't ever hear of before that's doing well in fantasy football? Never heard of him. Oh, maybe we should have known.
But now there's also too, and we haven't ran out the 9 years out. There's also the point that like the guy gets every single touch. Like week 8, if he gets hurt, we're going to be like, oh, we didn't see this coming with 35 touches a game. So that was we didn't think McCaffrey would get hurt week 2. It's about him wearing down over the course of a season. But anyways, so yeah, I would be nervous about the Bengals. They're 1-3. They're not going to throw in the towel, but I don't know, man. They got a tough division there. We'll see.
It's not like these touches McCaffrey's getting are plays where he's getting twisted up in the backfield. I mean, he is in space, diagonally toward the sideline. It's just so clean.
So easy.
Cleveland Browns, Jerome Ford. I mean, a lot of times the starter gets hurt and you just throw the backup in, cross your fingers. Madison and other times the Dalvin Cook years in Minnesota. But even though it's not big, I like having Jerome Ford through these 2 weeks. They're throwing the ball to him. They've been splitting carries, but not successfully. I feel like Ford's been good enough to get at least as much of a share going forward. Who knows if the Browns are actually good? Like Watson has been bad, then he misses a game. That almost doesn't count. But Ford is, he's valuable, I think, this year if you have him.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely valuable, especially with all the injuries that have been going on. He's an RB2 right now, not getting all the carries that you wanted, but he's certainly getting like that kind of elite pass catch role there. The Browns are interesting. I mean, it was one of those things where they actually gave the coaching staff, kind of left it up to the quarterback there to figure out whether he wanted to play or not. And he's like, I'm just not feeling right. So good for him for waiting for him to be 100% to come back. But they're an interesting team. They want to be a run heavy team, Nick Chubb, but they sometimes they really can't do it with the team that they have. So we'll see. I like the pass catching role for him. And 50% of the rushing attempts is fine as long as he's getting 20% of the backfield catches. You know what I mean?
Pittsburgh, George Pickens is a dynasty sell for me. Would have been easier after the Browns game, but just too erratic. And who knows what you're going to get from the Steelers offense the rest of the year. I think in most leagues, there's at least one player that really likes George Pickens. And maybe you get a game in week 5 and you can move him, but it's too unstable for me. Best ball's different. Playoff weeks in these fantasy pros and the main event stuff, maybe that's different. But I'm not enjoying life as a George Pickens investor.
Yeah, you gotta hope he has like one more big game before Deontay Johnson comes back, because maybe you can trade him. Remember Deontay Johnson? Remember that guy? As another guy that I drafted a ton of. Like we forget that we're all talking about Cooper Kupp and all these guys coming back. Like Deontay Johnson eventually will be back too, and hopefully he'll be back to normal.
Week 6 they're on bye. Week 5 it's the Ravens. And remember, the deep end has told you for a long time, every Ravens-Steelers game ends 16-15. So you can't expect too much in that one. You can look it up. Yep. All right. AFC South, which is a little bit fun, which is different. The AFC South, AFC North was miserable to talk about. Even the Ravens were kind of miserable for fantasy to talk about. Houston is not miserable, and that is new information.
Yes. I mean, throwing the ball, Stroud looks great. Nico tanked out. I mean, it's so fun. It's nice to see that out there for sure. So good for them, good for that team, good for the new coach. And hey, listen, Nico looks awesome, tanked out, startable. And of course you have an affinity for Pierce there. Talk to us about Pierce.
Not really happening. The offensive line injuries, I think, are a problem for their running game, but they have not been a problem for Stroud. I mean, he's not taking a sack against the Steelers. Who doesn't take a sack against the Steelers?
I know.
And, no interceptions in 4 games to start his career. He's throwing a lot downfield. Very exciting. He's cool to watch, Stroud. But, we'll see. This week they play Atlanta. And I think I speak for everyone when I say I hope Houston just destroys Atlanta. Like, just keep it up, Houston. Throw it all over them and see what Atlanta gets for its 18 for 40 for 170 yards from the Falcons. We're all sort of unified, I think, in our dislike for the Falcons in fantasy. Indianapolis, another fun one. Anthony Richardson gets there in week 4. I mean, the huge comeback there in the rushing. Jonathan Taylor, what do you think? Like, if he's active Sunday, is he a must start?
Yes. I mean, here's the thing. Unless you hear like Jay Glazer, he's only going to play 10% of the play. Unless you hear something
you will.
Unless you hear something like that. Then you're starting him. I mean, yeah. I mean, Richardson gets there. Here's the thing too. I feel like the fantasy football season hasn't really started yet until we get Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp on fantasy teams, like live, and because a lot of people are waiting for these guys to come back to really see how their teams measure up. If you were able to hold on, you're 2-2, you're middle of the pack. You get Taylor, you get Kupp back. So this is going to be an exciting week. I'd like to see them both play significant roles. So, and do we even know, was Jonathan Taylor even hurt? Like, I don't think it's not like a Cooper Kupp thing where like, oh, he was hurt and he re-aggravated his hamstring. Like, we didn't even know if Jonathan Taylor was even hurt. So,
in my opinion, he was not significantly injured. It was a spiteful move by the owner.
Yeah, agreed.
And now we'll hear from Taylor what he has to say about his situation. I mean, the coach is talking about how excited he is to play. If that's true, if that's true, then I guess maybe we don't have to worry about it anymore in terms of fantasy. They are a 1-point favorite at home against Tennessee this week, the Colts. And tomorrow will be a big day, Wednesday, on Taylor and on Kupp. I mean, you and I have a Mastiff team we share with Go Bills that has both guys. Oof. I've got a main event with Louis that's 3-1 that has both guys.
Yep.
Could be a good run out for us in terms of that gamble.
I like it.
Jacksonville in London again this week against Buffalo. Adam, Travis Etienne, it is tough to watch. Like, it's been really a divided fantasy community about Etienne. People love his talents. People are like, no, he can't really catch the ball. What will happen with volume? Just all kinds of opinions about him. I watched this game in London. Everything is so hard. Like, there's nothing. We talked about McCaffery. Yeah. That's the extreme other example where everything is just sort of like paved with gold. Etienne, I was laughing to myself looking at the app after I'd left for work, where every play is 3 yards or 4 yards. I mean, just such a grind. So is he a must start? Like, it depends on who you have, but which way are you leaning in terms of Etienne and his value this year?
I mean, I don't think he's a must start in a sense that, I mean, he's probably a must start for your team because you built it where, unless you took like a bunch of running backs early. But listen, if you got lucky and you got a Kyron Williams and a Ford on the team, and maybe you got a Jonathan Taylor and he's back. Like, I don't think Etienne's a must start depending on the team that he plays. And it's a good point, man. It's like some teams, some players, everything looks so difficult. The Kyle Pittses, all that type of stuff. Like, the guy's got the talent, but it just isn't there. And then you watch a guy like James Cook. It looks so easy. He's just gliding through holes and it looks smooth. And it's just like, okay, this is working. Whatever they're doing is working. And so, no, I do not think he's a must start going forward.
The thing about Jacksonville that makes it curious is I think it should look easier.
Correct.
You have a home run hitter in the player. You have Doug Peterson. You have Trevor Lawrence. You have kind of an easy schedule. You have Ridley and Kirk. I mean, shouldn't that be an offense? Coaching. Think of the coaching. Like, shouldn't that be an offense where Etienne has easy yardage? Like, so where is it?
Yeah.
I know. Frustrating, Jacksonville. Yep. Frustrating. Get better out there.
Be better.
Tennessee. Have a thought on Hopkins at this point? I mean, really, Henry's Henry, or at least he was last week. Week before he had 20 yards. And didn't expect much from the passing game overall. Burks sits. Okonkwo has been a disappointment. I feel like I've heard differing opinions on Hopkins, what he looks like and what he might be capable of in that offense. If Indy roles offensively in the game against the Titans, then maybe there's a high ceiling game out there for Hopkins.
I don't know. The offense doesn't look great. They don't want to pass the ball. Hopkins is aging. Like, I don't know. I don't feel bad for Hopkins. I mean, hey, go get your money, dude. But all these good teams with good passing games wanted him, and he decided to go there. So it's like, listen, that's your bed. You made it. Now you got to sleep in it. So, I mean, he's a wide receiver 3 going forward. Hopefully you drafted him as a wide receiver 3, and so it's not killing you too much. But I don't know. Whenever I look at Hopkins, I mean, I don't really have a lot of Hopkins, but if I was looking at my lineup, I don't get excited putting him into the lineup.
Denver, easy to pick on Denver and Sean Payton. The Marvin Mims thing, I'm with everybody. I mean, he is a rookie, but it is frustrating for him to make all these big plays and hardly ever be on the field. But I will say, a little bit of eye test, and I grudgingly do this. I think McLaughlin is kind of good. I mean, he has had some nice runs so far. I mean, he's there because Peyton likes him. Now Javonte Williams is hurt. Williams, I mean, suspect already injury-wise. Not everybody liked his profile. Most people did, but I don't know where he's at. And Pirine is kind of Samaje Pirine. So right. McLaughlin, I don't think, is a high-touch guy, but what the heck flex, as they say?
Yeah, no, he's a high-touch guy. He's not a high-touch guy, but, I mean, he's done it with Alvin Kamara before, right? Like, just can we get this guy in space, 7 or 8 catches, stuff like that. So he runs, like you said, he glides when he runs. He reminds me like a lot of like Jamal Charles, the way that he runs. He's very small and light, and the way that he moves. It's going to be interesting to see, because if we're not even sure that he's going to be out this week. So we don't even know. Like, some people are talking about putting a ton of their waiver wire money on McLaughlin, but we don't even. And he still might be the 3rd running back going into this Sunday. So I want to pay attention to the kind of the practice reports there and get a feel for that. Marvin Mims saw a season high 39% route participation in week 4. So you're stashing him right now. You're not starting him, obviously, if you can help it. But he leads the Broncos in targets per route run at 28%. And yards per route run at 6.21 yards per route run. So he's a big play we're waiting to happen.
Too many receivers to feel good about any of them with Denver. I mean, just Judy, Sutton, they're all just okay at best. McLaughlin will not feel good tomorrow night to make a big bid on, but we're 4 weeks in and you might still have $850.
Right.
Like, you might just sort of have to do it. I mean, he's not going to be, again, big touches, take over the backfield, anything like that. But you're getting, what'd you get from him on Sunday? I mean, what was it? A touchdown and
18 points.
Catches? 18 points.
Yeah.
How much should that cost?
Are you dropping real quick? You probably already have, because you're way quicker to do this than me. Are you dropping Leonard for Fournette?
No. I maybe should have, but I don't remember being on teams where I felt like I had to. It can fall that way, right? Like, you and I have a main event team with Guilds where we have Fournette, but there's no one else to get that's really going to help us more, it seems.
Yeah.
And so you're coming from behind, you might feel like you're better off just in case he signs somewhere. I haven't heard a word about him.
That's what I'm saying. I haven't heard. That's a guy I might be looking to drop on for like a McLaughlin if you don't have anybody else to drop.
Okay, fine. Yeah, 100%. I feel like wide receiver 7 on a good team is an easy, whoever it is. Like, would you drop Jalen Hyatt?
Oh yeah,
for McLaughlin, somebody like that.
For sure,
like that. Chiefs. Who's the most interesting Chiefs player? Maybe it's Rice. As we continue to wait to see if anybody sort of becomes a dominant figure in the passing game that isn't Travis Kelce, but the odds aren't great. I think. I don't know. It's going to be somebody different every week.
Yeah, I don't think they want anybody to step up. They don't. Their offense isn't like that. So we talked about it last week. You're just starting. If you have to start one, you just pray that that's the one that catches a touchdown. But it's just Kelce and Pacheco, and that's really it.
Vegas is kind of boring here too, right? Jacobs, Adams, Myers.
Yeah, Myers. I like Myers. Myers didn't have a great week last week, but they had a backup quarterback in there. I do like Myers going forward. He's looked really, really good.
LA Chargers on bye this week. Quentin Johnston, Adam, how much longer? So this game, he plays a little bit more, had a drop, ends up being 1 catch against the Chargers, or against
Yeah.
the Raiders, rather. They did have the lead, so it could have been better, but Palmer is above them. Who's Davis? D. Davis? Is somebody on the Chargers? Like, I don't know. They have to, what will they want to do? The Chargers will want to get Johnston to a place where they're not being buried for the draft pick, for the selection in the first place. And they should still be a wild card player here, LA, 2-2, even with everybody mocking them for their Chargery losses. But comes down to whether you think the guy's got it in him. I think there are worse gambles than Johnston, but not great so far.
Yeah, saw a season high 71% route participation. They're not using him the way that they need to. He's a big guy, but he's a run after catch guy. Like he's not a deep downfield catcher. That's not what he was in college. So they go into the bye. Hopefully, when they go in and come out of the bye, that he will be a thing. Josh Palmer had a top 36 finish this last week. So Palmer, I'd be okay starting as a wide receiver 3 or a flex. This team wants to throw the ball. Hopefully, we get Eckler back, and this offense can start humming again.
Dallas, as we move to the NFC here on the deep end, Mike Schopp and Adam Krautwurst. The guy I want to talk about is Jake Ferguson.
Yes.
You had a tip on Ferguson before the season. We played it as much as we could at that point. And look, top 5 tight end rest of the way, too many guys aren't doing anything. Freiermuth is hurt now. I mean, guys like Njoku or Ingram, they're just too easily capable of duds. And I think Prescott, I mean, he's gone to his tight ends before. I think Ferguson is very well set up. Should be a lot of goal line, red zone targets. That's how we started. I want to start him wherever I have him.
27% targets per route run for him. He just needs to play more. So yeah, I mean, he's a tight end one. We got that hot tip at the FF Expo about how the offense they're gonna really, really use him. And
it's been true.
It's been true. It's been true. Go get Jake Ferguson for sure. If he's on waivers in your league, I would even be willing to maybe even put a little trade for him early before he smashes, because man, a lot of the tight ends, there's just been no good tight ends. You could probably sneak this guy out from under somebody. So try to get him or pick him up off of waivers, because he's going to be a thing if he can just start getting more playing time. If he gets up to like 80% of the playing time, he's going to be a top 7 to tight end. So
the only close game Dallas has played is the game they lost in Arizona, where they ran the ball like crazy, which was very strange. Other games, they've been blowout wins. Miserable night for the New York Giants, as bad as you can look in a primetime game, in a game. I like that Wan'Dale Robinson was more involved. I'd like to see him down the field a little bit. There might be potential in garbage time games where Robinson catches double-digit passes, just sort of running across the middle of the field short. Daniel Jones, everybody liked him in the range in which he was drafted for fantasy. He runs, there's sort of sneaky, I think that was like unanimous, sneaky fantasy value and upside in Daniel Jones. What now? Is that still true?
Yes. Yeah. I think it is. I think getting Saquon back will help. I don't think Daniel Jones is as bad as he has been playing. He's got probably the worst receiving core in football. I mean, Darren Waller's a tight end, but it was just a bad game. The problem is too, they've been on prime time 3 out of their 4 games. They're going to be 4 of their first 6 games are going to be on prime time. Like, they're just being exposed to the world. He's got the rushing upside. You drafted him. Hopefully it's like a part of a committee. Hopefully you didn't just draft him and forget it. Hopefully you drafted, Anthony Richardson with him. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to start him, hopefully. But I think he'll be okay. Once we get Saquon back and this offense gets a little bit better, I think he'll be fine.
Brian Dable is the coach of the year, but I do not approve of his temper on the sideline here when it's going bad. He's throwing the tablet. He's basically embarrassing his quarterback, who's already been embarrassed enough. Like,
right.
You might agree with Dable on some of these moments, but that does not help a team get better.
Right.
Philadelphia is next. Maybe the worst looking 4-0 team ever for all the success they had last year. DeAndre Swift, I guess it's his world.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's been good news for all those people who drafted DeAndre Swift. At least that makes sense, right? He's probably the most talented running back on the team, gets his opportunity, smashes, and he stays out there. Good for him. Good for the Eagles. It all makes sense. Now, if he could avoid this tush push every stinking week, he'd probably have 3 or 4 more touchdowns. But he's a smash moving forward.
That's not going to happen, by the way. And also, I saw a report that the Giants center was injured on one of those last night. He was injured on the first play. If you saw him get up after the first play, he had a tough time. He stayed in. So I think the right report there should be that he was injured on the first play. The Giants center, Schmidt, maybe?
Not sure.
I'm not sure that's right. Washington, backfield is the backfield. Jahan Dotson, is that going to happen?
I don't know. I mean, even Dotson's like, hey, listen, I don't know if it's going to happen. We got a lot of mouths to feed, but
they don't.
He scored right.
They don't have a lot of mouths to feed. They think they do. They're feeding a lot of mouths, actual mouths, but they really don't. They have McLaurin and they have Dotson. Is there anybody else that's actually good?
Well, Samuel's good. You love Samuel.
I like Samuel, but he is what he is, right? Like he's one of those mouths.
Yeah. No, I think Dotson should be getting more. He scored fine. The problem is with players like Dotson, the problem is he scored. You could start him fine, but you probably didn't start him. So he's going to score 4 touchdowns this year, and you didn't start him for one of his touchdowns. So that's what becomes hard with these flex guys. You're not cutting Dotson. You can't cut him. But again, we got bye weeks coming up this week. I'm starting to look at rosters like, oh my God, I would love to start Jahan Dotson in some of these teams with injuries and bye weeks and all that.
Good luck.
Right.
We got a minute left per team, so they'll pay us. So keep an eye on the clock here. Chicago, Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson. How does that play out?
Well, right now it's Khalil Herbert. When the offense is, it's interesting. When the offense is at its best, Khalil Herbert is at his best. So hopefully they get him involved more in the passing game. He's he showed that he should be the number 1 back there, and Roshan's kind of been reserved for just like a handcuff role.
Jameson Williams, maybe more of a dynasty thing. You're trying to make a bet on how that goes from here. I mean, you're almost definitely not starting him this week on spec. Hopefully you get to a point where you're going to want to, but there'll have to be a real high level of consistency in an offense with St. Brown and Montgomery and even Gibbs. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a long shot that he becomes the guy you need.
Right. I don't even think I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but I don't think they want Williams to be good. I don't think they want the offense to go through a guy like Williams. I think they want to run him around and fake, just like they do with Gibbs, just like the Falcons do with Pitts. We want this great player that we spent all this draft capital on, and we're just going to run him around and fake handoffs, pretend like we're going to go to him, and then we're going to give it to the old running back. We're going to give it to Montgomery. We're going to give it to Amon-Ra to St. Brown. I don't think they want Jameson. I think they want to have him run wind sprints and take the top off the stinking defense. I'm definitely not starting him this week, but you can tell I'm frustrated with the Jahmyr Gibbs situation. You got to start him because he's healthy and he's still putting up 10, 11 fantasy points a week, but they don't want him to be good. I mean, they're designing these exotic pass plays for David Montgomery. He starts on one side of the formation, comes behind, they fake it to Gibbs, they give it to Montgomery. He's got nothing but space. Do that with Gibbs. They want to run their boomer running back who's coming off an injury 35 times in a game where they're up by 30 points. That's what they want to do. So you're benching Williams this week. Does that
Adam
make sense?
_ Krautwurst. Adam Hans _
That's right.
Krautwurst.
Slickster, AK Slickster.
Green Bay, who's the receiver you want in Dynasty? So you've got Reed, the rookie. You've got Watson, who had the high upside. Dobbs has been a good story so far. How would you rank them in Dynasty?
Are we including Watson in this?
Watson, Dobbs, and Reed.
Watson, Dobbs, Reed. And I love Reed. I love Reed. But Dobbs is balling out. Great contested catcher. He's got the trust of his quarterback. That means a lot. It's the Gabe Davis effect. The quarterback trusts you. You got a good quarterback and they trust you. It works.
You may have noticed Jordan Addison did not catch a pass last week. He did draw a 45-yard pass interference penalty right early in the game before the pick six that went 99 yards. I'm nowhere different on Addison. I'm not afraid to put him in.
No, you can't. I mean, that's unlikely. That's unlucky, actually. Sorry that he gets 0. I mean, I thought he got hurt. I'm like, man, 0 points. Mr. Gary, he wasn't hurt. It's just he'll be back. He'll be fine.
They threw it great for 3 weeks, lost all 3 games. Pretty bad in week 4, won. Minnesota has the Chiefs at home Sunday. I love Addison. If you play DFS, I love the idea of Addison, although I don't know, like prices. I love the idea of DFS. I just don't ever play. NFC South, Atlanta, must we?
No. Move on.
Carolina. So Miles Sanders versus Chuba Hubbard. I don't want to start either one.
I've got a lot of Chuba Hubbard. Man, I wish they would have just sat Miles last week with the groin injury. They play him, and he stinks. And he hasn't really been good all year. So I'm holding on to Chuba, waiting to see if he gets that opportunity because he's been good there. And last year he was good in spurts there. So hopefully he gets a shot. They're looking for a number one receiver there and get Carolina to put her on their quarterback. So they're in the trade market looking for some guys. So maybe we get one of these Denver Broncos receivers over to Carolina.
They're really bad. And they don't have their first round pick.
I know. I know.
That's unless you're a fan of the team. If you are, my apologies. But otherwise, you're like,
right.
I love it when a team just sort of makes that bet and just cannot. New Orleans, Chris Olave, 1 for 4. Why did Derek Carr play that game?
Great question. So that he could throw it to Alvin Kamara. That's why.
11 times for 30 yards. What was that?
11 times. It's an extension of the run game.
Wow. Is it ever?
Olave will be fine, but yeah, it's. I don't think he should have played that game, the quarterback, and it's just frustrating. But hopefully, Olave can get one of those smash games where we wouldn't looking for.
Isn't that a head coach, Dennis Allen, where you're like, why are you a head coach? I mean,
Mike,
has there ever been a good team that he's coached? Like, how do you get a job and just stay in it for so long without any sort of juice? I mean,
there's like 30 of those. All these guys stink. It's unbelievable.
Well, okay, maybe you would say that about Todd Bowles, but the Bucs are kind of cool. Mayfield is happening. Godwin and Evans are happening. Running back is whatever, but it's working. They are 3-1, and on bye this week. Then they just flexed the Detroit Tampa Bay game in Week 6 to 425 because the world wants to watch Detroit Tampa Bay. I don't know, that's going well.
That is going well. Baker's getting the ball to the playmakers, man. Get the ball to Mike Evans and Godwin and Rashad White. He's running the offense. Good for him. Good for them. Good for Todd Bowles.
Trey Palmer, a touchdown. Cade Otton, a touchdown. Devin Tompkins, a touchdown against the Saints. They didn't blow them out, but those were their scores in that game, spreading the ball around. # exciting times, maybe in Tampa. NFC West to close. Arizona has been competitive in games. They have the Bengals at home this week, getting only 3. Michael Wilson, Marquise Brown is getting there. Connor is kind of getting there. Ertz, nobody even has Ertz, and he's getting there. And Dobbs is the same thing. How about the Cardinals as one of the good stories of the season so far, fantasy-wise?
Yeah, I mean, fantasy good for them. They had a chance at all these top draft picks this year, but they might not get it. I'm picking up Dobbs this week. I got some leagues where I got bye weeks, and I have a bye week for a quarterback, and I have Mac Jones as my backup. I'm cutting Jones. I'm picking up Dobbs for sure, and I'm excited to start him.
Jones has the Saints. Dobbs has the Bengals. LA Rams, wow. Cooper Kupp might come back. Nakua, Atwell, Kyren Williams. I have been on the team that Atwell is the one that sort of holds up the most, but Nakua is undeniable. I don't know if Williams is. We picked up Ronnie Rivers a couple of weeks ago. Just maybe he's the backup. And on Sunday he was. So I'm not cutting Ronnie Rivers at this point because Williams is kind of small. Nakua, what a story. And Kupp, maybe. I mean, that he starts. He's in your lineup if he's back this week for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. They're not bringing him out there like Sean McVay said. Like it's not about availability. It's about him being back to where he was. If they're putting him out there, it's interesting too. They say that it wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be, the hamstring injury, but that he's not quite at 90% yet. So I don't know. I'm confused by that statement. But if he's active, you're starting him. There's no way you're leaving him on the bench.
I took that to mean they thought maybe it would be like the season for a minute there when he went to Minnesota and then he stayed in Minnesota. But so it's not that. I'm not sure we'll see him this week. Plus 4.5 at home against Philly. And if he doesn't play, I mean, you're definitely starting. I'm starting that well. I mean, he didn't do great last week, but there's potential there. Touchdown the week before. San Francisco, we already talked about McCaffery. Debo and Kittle basically like a non-event. Amazing how that can happen in a Niners team that, again, wins pretty easily. But no reason to be down on those guys. Ayuk looks great. McCaffery looks like he's the guy to have.
Yeah. I mean, nothing. I mean, you're starting all those guys, and just know when they're all on the field, one, maybe two of them are going to disappoint. You know what I mean? So this week you had McCaffrey and Ayuk who were good. Next week it might be Debo, and it's always going to be McCaffrey, and it's going to be one of the other guys. usually not Kittle.
-3.5 at home Sunday night against Dallas. Those uniforms never not look great together.
Yeah,
Dallas and San Francisco.
Yeah.
What a great rivalry. Kansas City Raiders, Dallas, San Francisco, the best two rivalries to watch in the league, in my opinion. Miami Buffalo could be up there if Miami could ever give the Bills a game.
I know.
Okay, cheap shot. Seattle to close. Great night last night for their defense. That Witherspoon looks like a huge story. Just getting started his career with the Seahawks. Walker keeps going. JSN.
Yeah, I don't. Someone just tweeted out. I should find who it was. Someone tweeted out. Might have been Cody. JSN's first however many games has been 4 games, and Amon-Ra St. Brown's first 4 games. Now they're almost identical. So don't panic on JSN. The problem right now is the offensive line. I think they can't go 3-3 receivers. They need blockers, and he's the third. So it's not a good run out for him right now. But again, rookie receivers sometimes take half the season. I think he'll be okay later on, but he's a guy. You're not cutting him, but he's a guy you can't have anywhere near your starting lineup right now.
If only Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones were ahead of JSN in Seattle, the way they were ahead of St. Brown in Detroit.
That's right.
There was room for Amon-Ra St. Brown to emerge.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if Seattle, why would they change how it's going? It's going really well, and he's barely playing, barely contributing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that is 32 teams. I hope we got them all. I don't think I forgot any, but
I think we did. I think we're good.
It can happen. It can happen. Follow Adam at Adam_Krautwurst. I'm at Schopp Talk, SCHOPPTALK. You can listen to me in Buffalo on the Odyssey app weekdays from 3 to 7 and after Bills games. We'll be back in a week with more thoughts, updates on the Deep End Invitational and these underdog and Fantasy Pros teams that are really fun. Hope you're doing well. Feel free to reach out to us at Deep End FF1. Thanks to the Player Profiler Network for having us. Mike and Adam, see you next week. Good luck.
See you guys.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.